So the 2021 NBA playoffs are here, and it's been going on for a little bit now, but today I wanted to do a video of ranking the top 20 NBA players in the 2021 playoffs. So basically, I'm going to be giving you guys a list of the 20 best players I would want on my team going into the playoffs this year. Not just off what they did in 2021, because obviously the player that had the best season this year is Nikola Jokic. He's going to win MVP. You'd have Curry and Embiid up there. Curry not in the playoffs, so guys like Curry or Karl-Anthony Towns not making this list for obvious reasons. And yeah, this is just my opinion on this list. If there's anything you agree with or disagree with, please let me know down below. And this is just overall going to the playoffs. I do take into effect what happened in 2021, but that does not tell the whole story for me. So if you guys do enjoy the video, drop a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And let's get into the ranking. All right, so unfortunately, I can only put 20 players on this list. So there was some honorable mentions that I definitely thought could have made the list going into this. Jrue Holiday was the biggest guy left off the list, followed by Julius Randle, Trae Young, Russell Westbrook, Ja Morant, Chris Middleton, and Clint Capella, and Bam Adebayo. So those 8 players unfortunately did not make my top 20 list. Now let's get into the actual ranking. So coming in at number 20, we have Rudy Gobert, the big man from the Utah Jazz. Rudy Gobert most likely could possibly win his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award this year. He's going to be neck and neck with Ben Simmons. And if he does, he's going to be one of very few players that have won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's a double-double machine. This year, he averaged 14 points, 13.5 rebounds. Over his last 5 years in the NBA, he averaged about 14.5 points and 13 rebounds. And we know he's going to get it done as the rim protector. He's arguably the best rim protector we have seen in the NBA in the last 15 years. This is going to be his 5th year making the playoffs. The Jazz did lose Game 1 to the Memphis Grizzlies, but I cannot leave off arguably the best defensive player in the NBA in this top 20 list. He would be a little bit higher, but he's not somebody you can rely on as your 1, 2, or 3, or somebody that can create their own shot when it matters the most, and that's why Gobert is coming in at 20. Speaking of players that aren't the best at creating their own shot, we got Ben Simmons at number 19. Simmons is competing with Rudy Gobert to win Defensive Player of the Year. This season, this would be Ben Simmons' first year winning the award. He averaged 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists this year. He has made the playoffs multiple times in his career, playing in 2018 and 2019, where he got playoff series victories in those 2 years when they beat Miami in 2018, but then lost to Boston after that. And in 2019, they beat Brooklyn in 5 and then lost to Toronto. We all know how that series went in 7. Simmons was injured last year in the playoffs against the Celtics in the bubble. And Simmons' scoring did go down a little bit this year, but the 76ers did add some high volume scorers last year and in the last couple of years. But Ben Simmons, he's somebody you can rely on the perimeter. You can rely on him in transition, in the post on defense, as a passer, as a court general. He's someone you can always rely on in those departments. Maybe not as somebody on the offensive side of the ball when you're talking about scoring, creating your own shot, doing stuff off the dribble, but nonetheless, he's a complete player outside of his offensive limitations. He's going to provide you defense, he's going to provide you passing at an elite level, and he's coming in at number 19. 18, we have a player that just snuck into the playoffs as the 18th in the Eastern Conference. He was the 2nd leading scorer in 2021, and that is Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. Bradley Beal has been incredible over these last 2 seasons, averaging about 31 points, shooting 35% from 3 and 47 from the field. That is insane, averaging 31 points a night over a 2-year span. And if you take into account his last 3 years, he's averaging about 29 points, 47 from the field, 35 from 3, and 84 from the line. The Washington Wizards probably aren't going to beat the Philadelphia 76ers. At the moment of recording this, they're down 1-0. They might not even win a game in this series. Bradley Beal would be a little bit higher if it came to his defensive side of the ball, which he's not a great defender, but I do value his offense at an elite level, and hopefully, or maybe we're going to see Beal get traded in the offseason and he can be more competitive in the playoffs going forward, because we have to wonder, are the Wizards going to peak around this? Are they maybe going to be a 7 seed one day, or maybe possibly a 6 seed? Because I don't know if they'll ever have home court in a first round series with this current roster. Coming in at 17, we have Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. Ever since 2018, Devin Booker has just been such a consistent scorer, averaging 26 points over his last 4 seasons while shooting 35 from 3, 88 from the line, and 47 from the field. He finished up this season averaging 25.5 points and getting 4 rebounds and 4 assists. This is going to be Devin Booker's first time in the playoffs, mainly due to Chris Paul joining the Suns. Booker helped the Suns get their first playoff win in over 10 years, beating the Lakers on Sunday. And what Devin Booker could do as a scorer, he's very efficient. He'll kill you off the dribble. He'll kill you off the ball. He'll kill you in transition. And at 24 years old, he's doing things that a lot of 24-year-olds can't do. And he's coming in at number 17 on my list. And coming in at 16 is somebody that will always be compared with Devin Booker, and it is going to be Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz, who's making his 4th straight season making the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell has made it to the playoffs every single season of his career. Now, you could be up in the air. Who do you like more, Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell? That's why I gave Donovan Mitchell the slight edge over Devin Booker, because he has that playoff experience. He got a playoff series win over the OKC Thunder in his rookie season. Yes, he hasn't won a playoff series since then after losing to Houston 2 years in a row after that. That was into the Nuggets in 7 in the bubble last year, but I like the experience that Donovan Mitchell has. He's going to provide you great defensive play as well, a little bit better than Devin Booker. I would take Devin Booker on the offensive end, but I would definitely take Donovan Mitchell on the defensive end. Donovan Mitchell shot the ball lights out from 3 this year, 38, almost 39% from downtown on almost 9 attempts a night. Absolutely incredible from D. Mitch. As we move on here into the top 15, we have somebody that has been a meme for the last couple years in the playoffs, and it is Paul George. So I believe Paul George is a top 12 player in the NBA, but the reason he drops on this list is because he has not proved that he could be a consistent player in the playoffs since he left the Indiana Pacers. Since leaving the Indiana Pacers, he has been averaging 23 points a night in the playoffs, which is fine in 25 games, but he's shooting 41% from the field, way below average, and 33% from 3, below average. So Paul George really can't prove that he could be a lethal offensive threat in the playoffs in the last 4 seasons. He's only shooting 40% from the field and 32 from 3 in his 14 games in the playoffs with the LA Clippers, and I need to see something out of Paul George this year if I can put him higher. He only shot the ball 44 from the field in the game 1 against the Dallas Mavericks and 25% from 3. He's a great two-way player. He was really good throughout the regular season. I just can't put him any higher because I don't know what Paul George we're going to get. Are we going to get playoff P, or we're going to get pandemic P? We've been getting a lot more pandemic P over playoff P in the last couple of years. On to 14, we have Chris Paul of the Phoenix Suns. The Suns would not be here in the playoffs if it wasn't for their trade acquisition of Chris Paul in the 2020 offseason. Chris Paul is up to 9 assists a night, which has been the most since he's left the LA Clippers this season. He shot 49% from the field, amazing efficiency. 39% from 3 this year, amazing efficiency. And he led the NBA in free throw percentage at 93%. The Suns just look so much better if you watch them from last year to this season. Adding the floor general, the point guard of Chris Paul, as long as he can stay healthy, the Suns could win the Western Conference. Chris Paul has played 110 career playoff games, and he's averaging 21 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds a night in those 110 games, while also being very efficient as well. 47% from the field, 36% from 3, and 84% from the line. Chris Paul staying healthy is the biggest X factor for the Phoenix Suns in these playoffs. They're up 1-0 on the LA Lakers, and as long as Paul can stay healthy, they could win this series and move on to round 2. At 13, we have another point guard, and that is the first of the trio on the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, aka Uncle Drew, aka Ankle Taker, aka World Be Flat, aka Kai. Yeah, I'm really just looking at his basketball reference nicknames. But Kyrie Irving, one of the few players on this list that has an NBA championship under his belt where he was a main contributor to that squad. We know the clutch shot he hit for the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016. Kyrie Irving was also a 50, 40, 90 scorer this year. He played the most games out of the big 3 for the Nets. He played 54, shot 50 from the field, 40 from 3, 92 from the line, while also averaging 27 points a night. He also got it done in the passing game. For the 4th time in his career, he averaged over 6 assists. This is going to be his first playoff series, though, since leaving the Boston Celtics, and his time in Boston in the playoffs wasn't very good. He averaged 21.7 assists, which is okay, but if you look at his efficiency, 38% from the field, not good. 31% from 3, not good. He did have a good game 1 against Boston on Saturday night where he had 29 points and shot 55 from the field, and there's no reason not to think that Kyrie Irving will go back to his elite playoff ability from when he was in Cleveland, because his time in Cleveland, he averaged 24 points, he shot 41% from 3 and 87 from the line. He was a very efficient player when he was playing with LeBron there, and now he's playing with Kevin Durant and James Harden, and Kyrie Irving will be coming in at number 13 on my list. Now on to number 12, we are staying in the Atlantic Division. We have Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics. Like Donovan Mitchell, Jayson Tatum has gone to the playoffs every year since he's entered the NBA, including 2 Eastern Conference Finals in his rookie year and last year in the bubble. It will be very tough for him this year going up against the Boston Celtics without his sidekick Jaylen Brown. Tatum has been pretty solid in the playoffs so far in his career, shooting 44% from the field, 35% from 3 and 81 from the line, averaging 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. His best playoff series definitely comes last year where they swept the Philadelphia 76ers, where he averaged 27 and 10 on 48, 45, 72 splits. Tatum had an elite regular season. He's also emerging as an elite defender on ball, on the perimeter. I trust him as a number one option. That's why he's coming in front of other guys like Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul and Paul George at the moment, and also coming in front of Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell, because I believe he's better on both sides of the ball as those two players. And yeah, Jayson Tatum's only 22, so he's only going to go higher as we go on in his career. On to number 11, someone that has not been good in the playoffs so far this year. They are currently down 2-0 to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, though, arguably had the best year of his career this season, where he averaged 21.5 points, led the league in steals with 2.1 a night. He had 7.1 assists, which is by far a career high, 6.9 rebounds, also a career high, and shot 49% from the field. So he had career highs in field goal percentage, rebounds, assists, and steals, also scoring the third highest points per game of his career. We all know how well Jimmy played last year for the Miami Heat in the bubble. Maybe they were just a bubble team and nobody really thought that they were going to make it to the NBA Finals. I just want to give the best player on the reigning Eastern Conference champion some love and some respect. Put him at number 11 because he's an elite defensive player. He's a very good offensive player, and maybe they're going to get embarrassed by the Milwaukee Bucks, but you can't ignore what Jimmy Butler has done throughout his career and not put him in your top 15. Now we enter the top 10. Somebody that is absolutely killing it tonight against the Denver Nuggets in Game 2. It's Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is no stranger to the playoffs atmosphere. He's a career 25 point per game, 4.5 assists, 6 rebound career playoff player. His efficiency is all right, 40 from the field, 35 from 3, 88 from the line. He's made it to the Western Conference Finals once, where they ended up getting swept by the Golden State Warriors, and that team, I believe, was without Kevin Durant. They've had multiple first-round exits, being a first-round exit to Memphis in 2015, first-round exit to the Warriors in 2017, first-round exit to the Pelicans in 2018, and yeah, they got swept by those two teams as well. And then they ended up losing in 5 to the LA Lakers last year after taking Game 1. They're currently up 1-0 on the Nuggets right now. They are down at halftime, so they could end up losing Game 2. But Damian Lillard is somebody I will always trust on the offensive end. The team that he has been on has never really been up to the star power of some of the other teams in the Western Conference, like the Houston Rockets, like the LA Lakers at the time where he was competing, and most notably, the Golden State Warriors. On to number 9, where we have the youngest player on this list. It is a 21-year-old Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, this is only Luka's second career playoff series going up against the LA Clippers. They lost to the Clippers last year in 6 games, but I really wouldn't blame Luka. He averaged 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists in his first career 6 playoff games. And he was very efficient as well, 50% from the field, 36 from 3. He had a 31-point triple-double in Game 1 against the Clippers this season, in which a game where Kristaps Porzingis played horribly. Now, he's not as good as a defender as some of these other players I mentioned on this list, like Paul George, Chris Paul, Jayson Tatum, Jimmy Butler, but what this man could do at 21 years old on the offensive end and go into LA at the Staples Center, beat Kawhi and Paul George on his own is just special. And like I mentioned, yeah, he's 21, so he's only going to get better. He's coming in at number 9. Coming in at 8, we have Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, a player that will finish top 3 in the MVP voting this season. He's made it to the playoffs the last 4 years, but he has been pretty solid in the playoffs. Now, he wasn't anything special in 2018. He was still very young, 23 at that time. He was great against Brooklyn in round 1 of 2019, but was not good at all against the Raptors in round 2, in which they lost by 7. He only shot 37 from the field and 34 from 3. He did what he could last year against the Boston Celtics without Ben Simmons, but there is a really high chance we will see Joel Embiid in conference championship basketball for the first time in his career this year. They most likely will beat the Washington Wizards, and then they will have a very good chance at beating the New York Knicks or Atlanta Hawks in the second round. Embiid is one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. He's one of the best, actually, he's probably the best offensive big man in the NBA, up there with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the most likely MVP Nikola Jokic. But nonetheless, Embiid has been stellar this year. He was great in Game 1 against the Washington Wizards, where he scored 30 points and shot 56% from the field. As long as he can stay healthy, which is a big if he can, and we don't have to see Embiid miss a game here or there, he's going to come into the top 10 for me and be my 8th best player in the 2021 playoffs. Coming in at number 7, we have a player that I just mentioned that's going to win the MVP, or most likely will win the 2021 MVP, Nikola Jokic. Now, you might be like, Matt, Nikola Jokic at 7. You just said he's probably going to win the MVP. Why so low? It's just hard to put him in front of any of the top 6 that I will get into in a little bit, because Jokic has been phenomenal in his playoff career. He's played 34 games. He does have a negative record, 16-18, before game 2 was ended versus Portland, but his stat lines have been amazing. 25 points per game, 11 rebounds, 6.7 assists, while being crazy efficient. 51% from the field, 41% from 3, 83% from the line. And unlike Embiid, he has been to a conference championship where they ended up losing in 5 to the LA Lakers last season, and they had that crazy 2 straight series 3-1 comebacks against Utah and the Clippers in the bubble. They were 1 game away from going to the Western Conference Finals in 2019, but they lost to Portland in a phenomenal series after beating Pop and the Spurs in 7 in round 1. Jokic will have to do it without Jamal Murray though, but if he could beat the Portland Trailblazers and then somehow win round 2 against the Lakers or the Suns, I will have no choice but to put him in my top 5 going forward. And coming in right in front of Jokic and Embiid, plays a similar position. He is a quote-unquote power forward. It is Anthony Davis of the LA Lakers. Now, if this was just based off 2021, yeah, I'd most definitely have Embiid and Jokic in front of Anthony Davis. But since this is overall, and Anthony Davis is a reigning NBA champion, I know this is probably the worst year since his sophomore year with the Pelicans. I still got to put him in front of Jokic and in front of Embiid. He was not good at all in game 1 against the Phoenix Suns, but in the playoffs last year for the LA Lakers, he averaged over 28 points and 10 rebounds a night and 4 assists, while also shooting 55% plus from the field, 38% plus from 3, and 85% plus from the line. He was so good in his first year in the NBA with the Lakers, where he made it to the NBA Finals. The closest he's gotten to that previously, he only made the playoffs twice. In 2015, they got swept by the Warriors in round 1, and then in 2018, they had that great series against Portland where they swept them, upsetted them, but then in round 2, they lost to the Warriors in 5. And he played great in those games. Anthony Davis has played 35 career playoff games, 28 points, 11 rebounds are his averages, while also shooting 54% from the field, 34 from 3, and 83% from the line. And now we enter the top 5. Somebody coming slightly in front of AD, who I wouldn't say has the greatest playoff resume. It is the second member of the Brooklyn Nets, and it is James Harden. James Harden, first ballot Hall of Famer. It's his first year not with the Rockets since 2011. Harden's had a very up and down career playoff resume. He is only averaging 23.5 points. You might be like, that's a little bit low, but yeah, what he did in OKC as the 6th man, it's not what he was able to do with the Houston Rockets. He's only a career 42% field goal shooter in the playoffs and 33% from 3. He's only made it to the conference finals once in his career as the number 1 option in Houston. Yes, they went to it with the OKC Thunder in 2011 and in 2012, but he was also playing with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Now that he's playing with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving this year, there's a good chance James Harden will be back in the conference championship, as long as they can beat the Milwaukee Bucks or Miami Heat in round 2. But this new James Harden that we are seeing in Brooklyn is kind of why I have him higher than Anthony Davis. He is a phenomenal passer, even better than what we saw out of him in Houston. He's averaging 11 assists since coming over to the Brooklyn Nets. He's shooting 36% from 3 on 7.3 attempts a night, and as most likely the number 2 scoring option, even if he's the number 3 behind KD and Kyrie, and he's going to be the facilitator, the point guard for them. I like my chances as him playing like a top 5 player in the playoffs. Coming in at number 4 is somebody that has a big make it, prove it playoff run ahead of him, and it is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is a 2-time MVP winner. He was in the hunt for a little bit this season to win his 3rd MVP award. Over the last 4 seasons, he's been averaging 28 points, 11.7 rebounds, and shooting 55% from the field. Last season was a season to forget for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, as he went from averaging 31 points and 16 rebounds in round 1 against the Orlando Magic in those 5 games to only averaging 22 points and 11 rebounds in those 5 games against the Heat. They're currently up 2-0 on the Miami Heat this year. Giannis has made it to the conference finals once in his career, where he was up 2-0 on the Toronto Raptors, but then we all know that the Raptors won 4 in a row. Giannis can really make his legacy known this playoff run if he's able to knock off the Heat, the Nets, and the Sixers 3 series in a row. It's going to be very tough to do, but it's definitely possible. And now we're into the top 3. Number 3 on my top 20 player list going into the playoffs for 2021 is Kawhi Leonard of the LA Clippers. Kawhi is one of 2 players on this list to win 2 finals MVPs with 2 different teams. Did it for the Spurs in 2014 and did it for the Raptors in 2019. Kawhi has been phenomenal over the last 3 seasons in the playoffs. He's been efficient in all of his playoff series, except really the Denver one last year. He averaged 28 points against the Magic in 2019, 35 points against the Sixers in 2019, 30 points against the Bucks, 29 against the Warriors in the NBA Finals. Last year, he averaged 33 points and 10 rebounds, shot 53% from the field against the Mavericks. He wasn't great in the Denver series, but I'm going to take Kawhi's resume over everybody else on this list besides 2 players. And coming in front of Kawhi at number 2 is Kevin Durant of the Brooklyn Nets, the 3rd Brooklyn Net player we have named so far. And don't worry, there'll be one more, Bruce Brown number 1. But now, back on KD. What else can you say about him? It sucks that he didn't play at all last year, and he was up and down with injuries this year, and who knows if he's going to be able to play all the playoff games for the Nets. But for somebody that has won 2 NBA championships, 2 finals MVPs with the Golden State Warriors, has only had 2 career playoff series out of 26 career playoff series to average less than 25 points a night, not counting the NBA Finals against the Raptors in 2019. His career in the playoffs is 29 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 47 from the field, 35 from 3, 86 from the line. He's 89 and 51 in his career playoffs matchups, and he's coming at number 2 on this list. If the Nets are going to win it all, he's most likely going to be their finals MVP, but you know, it could definitely be Harden or Kyrie, so I guess that is kind of a hot take. And then finally at number 1, no surprise here, somebody that has won 3 finals MVPs with 3 different teams, and it is LeBron James of the LA Lakers. Who knows? They might get eliminated in round 1 this year against the Suns. They're currently down 1-0, and LeBron is 36. He's been injured a bunch this season, and I just can't bet against LeBron. He's still going to be the number 1 guy going into the playoffs for what his track record and resume has been over his career in the playoffs, over his 18 seasons. I gotta take him with no debate. So yeah, that is gonna be my top 20 NBA players in the 2021 NBA playoffs. If you disagree with any of the rankings that I mentioned here in today's video, let me know down below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up. And yeah, I love you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.